All right, 33 to 35. In the background, I have one of the quotes that really caught me from the other selection. This idea that the function of classroom fantasy play, as both Joseph and I see it, is to communicate ideas and influence group culture. And then she talks about Jason and how, but that's not what he's doing, right? And we don't know, we aren't sure what he's doing. Vivian says, seems to want us to know what his play is, but he is not at a point where he wants anyone to do anything with it. All right, page 33 at the bottom. What makes children pay attention to the ideas and demands and complaints of classmates? The same conditions, I think, that create sense and order of other classroom enigmas, the need to have a friend and be part of a dramatic structure. Children see themselves always inside a story. Indeed, friendship itself is defined in terms of fantasy roles. You are a friend if you take part in someone's play, and you are most likely to listen to those with whom you are acting out a series of events. Had Jason agreed to be the alligator, he would be considered a friend by Joseph and Simon. That would later have told their families. They would later have told my families, Jason is my friend. It is that easy when it works. Friendship and fantasy form the natural path that leads children into a new world of other voices, other views, and other ways of expressing ideas and feelings they recognize as similar to their own. For adults, love and work may accomplish the same ends, although over the years, the overlay of unfulfilled expectations often puts obstacles in the way. To children, each new revelation of connectedness is a miracle. If friendship and fantasy provide links to individual children, there is yet a third condition that completes the frame within which school makes sense, the need to become part of a larger group. It is the group that most influences the development of the storyteller. Two friends alone will memorize each other's stories and learn a private language, but the storyteller is a culture builder, requiring the participation of an audience. Play is not enough. There must be a format that captures the essence of play while attaching it to a greater degree of objectivity. Storytelling and story acting can perform the task. At this point, Jason has not satisfied the first two needs, for he would seem to use fantasy to avoid friendship. Yet even a child who remains inside a helicopter can be reached once he realizes we offer him a legitimate audience for his fantasy. Jason is not different from the rest of us. He too wants to tell a story. Why else does he roar his motor and openly complain about broken blades, if not to capture our attention? But attention, when begrudgingly given, does not satisfy for long. An idea must find the rhythm of a group to be fully communicated. The imagination is not a unilateral function. It thrives in the company of those who share its point of view and ask the right questions. If Jason cannot yet be a friend to one other child, perhaps the less personal aspect of a larger audience will appeal to him. Playwriting need not involve reciprocity and can therefore sidestep personal issues for a while. Story and stage provide a laboratory for every sort of child. Those who are sociable but not articulate, and those who speak better than they play. Those who are trapped in a single theme, and those who scurry quickly along the edges of too many. These are fertile grounds. Perhaps they will bear fruit for Jason. Meanwhile, he provides me with new incentives to study the phenomenon. I want to know more about how in the telling and performing of these stories, customs are invented that bind a group of children together, and how this affects everything that happens at school. Here is an intuitive and spontaneous set of responses from which children and teachers can create the rules and traditions that govern listening and responding. In the telling and performing of stories, all ideas must be heard, considered, compared, interpreted, and acted upon. The bridges built in play are lengthened, their partially exposed signposts organized and labeled in ways that commit the storyteller to travel in particular directions. The subject encompasses all of language and thought. It is the academic inheritor of the creative wisdom of play. Always we return to play, for storytelling and playwriting are also not enough. I must watch Jason at play even more closely than in the story room. How will the creative wisdom of his play express itself? Just as every storyteller begins with a unique message, the story player evolves an unparalleled relationship with those he eventually joins. Even as I yearn for Jason to conform peacefully, I realize that conformity spoils a story. Had Jason's helicopter zoomed over and rescued the snakes, what would there be for me to watch and wonder about? Rescuing snakes is Joseph's story. What or whom will the helicopter boy decide to rescue? That's the intriguing question for me in this class.